Yo, what's going on? Took a super solid trade today using my favorite setup. I have the best track record with this setup. Just a simple bounce from demand and a higher low. It works all the time, over 50% win rate, and a crazy R ratios are easy to achieve. So we had a 30-minute demand zone printed, I think this is Friday. Sunday night, we bounced from it, and this morning we bounced from it and created a higher low, and I looked for a reaction from it. We saw a huge volume spike down here, and I snagged a sniper entry for another higher low on a lower time frame, and I rode this trade up for a 4.25 R. Trade management was a little bit mid. I should have held this trade longer, but it was a good trade nonetheless, and I managed my risk perfectly. All right, here's the live trade. I'm really just looking for an entry at this point. We're bouncing from a used 30-minute demand with significant volume and really looks good for a reversal here. So I'm just looking for trapped orders. Right there, saw a trapped seller on the order flow. Large aggressive market seller entered and we popped against their position, trapping their order, and that's where I went long. I will show you the order flow confirmation and exactly what I'm talking about after this live trade. So you can really see why I entered right there, even though it looks pretty bearish. I mean, we are making lower highs. My thesis was we were going to put in a higher low here out of demand, trap everybody that's shorting right here, and really fuel a move much higher and bounce and trap all these sellers that were coming into the market. So pretty close to my stop loss, but a huge aggressive market order entered, and it was a long order. And we pushed up after they entered, and the trade was looking super good here, kind of validating that a higher low was being put in and trapping these sellers for real, where they would have to stop out. There was a lot of selling on this really large, full bearish candle right here, and buyers were just attempting to overrule that selling so we could really get a push higher. I went break even there, probably a 1.5 R, and my target was for a 4 R at this point for the break of this little bit of a high and break of VWAP, where there was additional major selling over here to the left. Trade was looking good here. We were up probably of 3 R. All right, speeding the trade up a little bit more, we are showing some slight consolidation here, which is really bullish. The buyers are really trying to confirm that higher low, and we're just kind of absorbing all this selling pressure trying to take us lower. So sellers made an attempt to take us lower and stop me out for break even, but buyers stepped in again, putting in another higher low, and the trade was looking super good at this point. Here is where I started moving my orders all over the place. I instead of getting all out there, I could see us running and even breaking the high a day, which we did end up doing. So because of that, I just decided to take off 75% of my position at my original target instead of the full position. So I just put a limit sell for 5 of the contracts right there above that little bit of a high. All right, so I moved my limit order up again. I don't know why. I thought there'd be a big push after we broke this VWAP. So I wanted to let my winner run a little bit more. Probably pretty greedy. As you can see, buyers are having a pretty tough time and there's pretty much resistance right there. But we broke above it there and I wanted to get out for my original target. We just didn't get hit. And I saw something very scary right here. I'll show you guys on the order flow what I saw. I saw a huge trap buyer, but they probably didn't stop out because we didn't get continuation. But there was a huge trap buyer. They got trapped at the highs right there, and the market went against them. So they were underwater on their position, but at this point they were even on their position, but they were still um, they were still attempting to trap that buyer, so I just got out there for 5 of my contracts. Not a good decision. That's poor trade management. I should have held my original target because it hit right there. But at this point, it was a beautiful trade. I was already out. That first exit was a 3.3 R, and the market was really running at this point. All those sellers, during that really sharp rally were pretty much underwater, stopping out of their positions, fueling this move higher with these buyers out of the demand zone. All right, at this point, we really put in a V-shaped recovery, and I'm looking for a move that could go all the way up to the high of day. After just all those sellers got trapped. There I am putting the remaining 2 contracts, having a stop loss at around 3 to 1 R, just so I cannot lose on this position on the last two contracts or get stopped for break even. I have to work on my trade management. I put my orders all over the place on this trade, and there's no way I can really journal that. But um, yeah, there's no reason to be doing that. I should have just kept some solid targets in place and held it for those targets. Volume was a bit slowing down here, but I was looking for a sharp pop above another area of sellers way up top at the beginning of the sell off. All right, so we kind of broke above that period of consolidation, and I was just looking for buyers to step in for a real solid rip. Once we broke, look at that pop. Once we broke this high right there, we got a real big pop. Bunch of volume came in, and I was looking for the break of the high day at this point, which is probably like an 8-9 R or something, like something ridiculous. I don't even know. We quickly engulfed it, and we didn't really get some good action from buyers at this point. We kind of just sold off pretty heavily, and I took off my full position there for a 4.25 R in total and 630 on the day. Here is the order flow confirmation for this trade. We hit the demand zone down here. It was a used 30-minute, and significant volume came into the market. It was really volatile, and we popped up very aggressively with some really large bids all throughout. We popped up and we sold off a little bit lower, broke a little bit of resistance support, sorry, that we were creating. Saw a large seller into the market, a really aggressive market sell, and we popped up against their position, and that's where I went long for a continuation higher. Right after I went long, we popped down a little bit, and then a huge buyer came in, and this trade was looking super solid, especially as we reacted with this buyer and kept moving up. And I took my first exit around here. This really scared me out of this trade. This would be like a confirmation short for me usually. We were kind of struggling to break a little bit of resistance here, and we broke it. Hit VWAP, a huge market buyer entered, an aggressive buyer entered the market, and we popped down against their position, trapping their order. So I was very scared after we saw this. They must have had a really wide stop loss because I don't think they stopped out of this trade as it continued to run very, very long. So the time is now 11:50 and the market has already died out with volume. You can see there's a huge volume tail and not much is going on. We're kind of moving slower at this point, and we're working on creating kind of a balanced range. This is a 30-minute chart. So we could set up for some pretty boring days in the next for the rest of the week, especially if we just stay in between this balanced range. I would avoid trading in the middle of balance. I would look towards taking longs at the lows and shorts at the highs if we stay in this balanced range. Anyways, I am now eligible for a payout. So leave it in the comments what you think I should do. My idea is to keep trading the account until I have a buffer over the max drawdown, which is $2,000, and then start to look for taking a payout. But I am eligible. I have 5 winning days, and yeah, just let me know what I should do. I hope you guys all traded well, and I hope you guys have the rest of the week trading well, and have a good day. Peace out. Thanks for watching.